Hello, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Hello, doctor. Yes, we can.
Nice, nice, very good. Okay, so what is it that we're doing today? This is, I mean, we've been revising for quite some time now, and yeah, I don't mind if we can have one more, revision session, provided that it, I mean, it should be kind of bi-directional. I want to. By now you should have perhaps finished doing what you're supposed to do, gearing up for the exam. If you study and if you prepare, you come up with questions that I would be more than happy to answer. So it's going to be more or less, some kind of Q&A kind of session. Come to the mic and share, and let's perhaps organize it by um, any focus on something and then move on to the second. So let's start with Tom's Midnight Garden, and then we transition back to The Tale of Peter Rabbit, and we kind of wrap everything up. So if you have any questions, come to the mic, raise your hand first,
Doctor,
and then you can you raise your hand, and then we go from there. Let me just remind you that at 6 o'clock we will have our fourth in-class activity, and this time around it's only 4 minutes that you guys are having, and it's only three questions that you guys are having, and it's still out of one. Okay. So if we have any procedural questions, come to the mic, and then we move on to substance after you have finished. So if your question is procedural about exams, about anything procedural, that's fine. And I also need to share with you the time of the second quiz. The second quiz is out of 10 and it's going to be on Canvas like you know. I'll give you the details perhaps sometime later. Okay, let's start with Lama. Lama, go ahead.
عندي سؤال على الميد.
Can you
Uh,
speak? Can it be in English? This is English major arena.
okay. I
Mm,
have a question about midterm.
mm.
An essay, should we write about the critics?
Yeah, I mean, you inform the discussion by talking about critics. You back up your answer, of course, using critics. And we're not pursuing critics for their own sake. Okay? So you
Mm.
choose whatever is relevant and put it there. So
It's not
it's not,
about their point of view.
it depends on the question, of course. Yeah, and I mean, whatever they said is their kind of their take on what happens in the stories. So this is their point of view,
Okay,
right?
thank
It's how they see the novel or the picture book, their different interpretations. Yeah, Dana, go ahead.
In Tom's Midnight Garden, who is specifically the ghost? Is it Hattie or is it Tom or is it none?
Well, actually, we're not going to ask you that very straightforward question because I have been asked this question so many times, yeah, Dana. Perhaps you were not there. And I said it wouldn't make a difference, right?
Yes, but
Eventually, yeah, go
mhm.
ahead. Yeah, go
And
ahead.
in the essay, I don't mention any ghosts, right?
I mean, the idea that one of them looks at the other as a ghost. I mean, by the way, they have started this way. They were suspicious of each other at the beginning, and they each called the other a ghost. Again, this is part of the fantasy that the novel is part of. Remember, we said that fantasy means a lot. So part of it is to have ghosts, whether those ghosts are, real ghosts, and I mean, that's a contradiction of terms. I have a ghost which is real. Obviously, they don't meet. So again, it's part of this fantastic world that the whole project is about. So it's you normally or you basically refer to the fact that they have branded each other as ghosts. But obviously, and if you ask me, I would say that Hattie is more ghostly than uh, Tom. Remember what we said about her role, and I mean, she came to obviously play and serve a purpose, and at one point she's no more. She turns into Miss Porcelomo and stuff, right? So
Yeah,
don't
but
bother yourself. Yeah, no, go
okay,
ahead. Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
That.
Technically, they're both dreaming.
Mm.
Tom is like sleepwalking and dreaming, and Hattie, which is Mrs. Bartholomew,
Mm.
she was also dreaming. So I got a bit confused, like who exactly is the ghost in the story? That's why
If
I'm
you are,
asking.
I mean, you're asking about my interpretation because it was never specified, يعني in very clear terms. Obviously, you need to come up with your own conclusions. Again, if you ask me, and if you ask me whether it's Tom or Hattie, I would tell you that it's Hattie who is the ghost. A ghost
Okay.
in the sense that she's more or less like a phantom that serves a certain purpose and then she is no more. What did she serve? What role did she play? Remember what she did, the experiences that she shared with Tom, and where those experiences get Tom. He got matured over time. He became reformed. The Tom that we see at the end is obviously different from the Tom that we see at the end. He's totally transformed, right? I mean, this idea,
Yes.
even when he used to speak to his uncle about this idea of time and the non-linearity of time, and the fact that he thinks of time in a non-linear way. I mean, he came to terms with the idea that time is linear, and he wasn't deeply affected when he realized that I mean Hattie is not I mean at the end it was Mrs. Bartholomew. Obviously she's not the Hattie that he has thought she is. So it's all about realizations, and who is obviously who learned a lesson or two, and who was a catalyst that played a role and then is no more. Think about it along those terms.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Oh, thank you, Adana. Yeah. So Dana started off the substance part, which is about the novel. So let's keep it there. If you have any questions about Tom's Midnight Garden, come to the mic. Yeah, Haya or Haya.
Yes. Doctor, I want to ask about why Abel was able to see Tom, and so why? Maybe because he was all the time was he spending his time in the garden.
I don't know. You ask the writer. These, these are these are details that we're not likely to ask you about. I mean, our questions are comprehensive, are about your interpretation of things, about the fantasy or the fantastic world that the novel is set in. It's not about particular details. So if you don't mention it, it wouldn't harm you. If you add it, it wouldn't add much. It's about how comprehensive you are, how relevant you are, okay, and how you give your take on something, how you interpret something. Okay, it's not about this specific piece of detail here and there. So don't bother yourself again about Apple and whether why he is the only one who can see them and stuff like that. See, it's
Yeah.
as
Okay,
simple.
got it. Thank you.
It's simpler than you think. Yeah. Hmm. Questions, questions, questions. So some people are keeping a low profile, and obviously, it's a long day, and it's the end of the week. I can imagine.
We're
Yeah.
supposed to mention Doctor the critics, right? Depending on the question.
Yeah, of course, depending on the question. And I said that the articles and the critics are meant to inform the discussion, to add more value, to give new dimensions and new heights. Okay?
Okay. So depending on the question, depending on what kind of idea I want to represent, I will include the critic that further
Yes.
enriches the argument.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's
Okay.
not about mentioning them and dropping names without really knowing what those guys mean or stand for. It's not about that. Okay, it's bigger than that. Like I said, critics come with their own interpretations, which those interpretations may coincide with yours and may be different. Okay, so your answers are a synthesis of what we do in class, what you think, and what those critics are bringing to the conversation too. Hmm.
For Peter Rabbit, we will have one of the questions, like a picture from the book, and we'll analyze it like a close reading.
It can be. We can have this possibility, and we can also have now that we have a novel because we used to have a novel in the mid in the previous semesters we had a novel too, and yeah, it can be both. It can be like a picture, and it can be a passage that you approach it in يعني, closely and thoroughly. Yeah, it can be both.
Are there any
Yeah.
significant important themes for Tom's Midnight Garden that we should give more time to?
Themes.
Yes, or concepts and ideas.
I think
Like, for example,
we have
we have
exhausted all the
exhausted Peter Rabbit.
possibilities.
We have
Now,
exhausted Peter
mm,
Rabbit, but Tom, I
mhm.
feel like we could give it extra time.
You mean we could give it or we could have given it?
We could give it, I mean, like right now.
Okay, no problem.
For
Well,
example,
again, yeah,
for
yeah, go
example,
ahead.
you made a point about we should focus, not really focus, but you've mentioned the linear time a lot, so that's something
Mm.
that we could keep our minds, mm,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
we're talking about two different realities, obviously, right? We're
yes.
talking about the reality of Tom and the Kitsons and everybody else, and we're talking about the reality of Hattie. And again, the fact that she takes us back to the past. You you could talk about why the past and why certain specific time period, which is the Victorian age, you would want to perhaps refer to the fact that those guys in the 50s were kind of alienated and they felt estranged from whatever was happening. They were not happy about the circumstances. They were there was a great deal of, frustration. And again, when you're frustrated, you have escapates. You go and build your own world. It can be perhaps sleeping too much. And I know people when they are frustrated and they're not happy, they either eat, which can be a world in and of itself. They can sleep, which can be a world in and of itself, right? They can go to the past, right? Or perhaps the future. So this is some kind of diversion. You can talk about that. You can talk about uh, uh, those different worlds, those different realities, and why we're having them. Again, you need to always remember that was all meant to help Tom. And obviously, Tom is a representation of a whole generation, right? So help him navigate the complexity or complexities of the world that he lives in, with all the trials and tribulations and frustrations, right? So did the novel succeed in doing that? And who and what helped? Of course, Hattie and the Magic Garden and going back to a glorious past and comparing the past to the present, and then realizing that even the past is past, right? We don't have control Z in life, right? You cannot bring back glorious pasts, whether Arabic, Muslim, European, right? So if I cannot go and live in the past forever, I have to realize and I have to come to terms with the fact that I am the son or the daughter of the present. I have to accept the present and I have to move forward. So moving forward means that you are accepting the linearity of life, right? And this is obviously what the whole novel is about. It's about being eventually realistic, you know. And dreams are good and everything, but they are dreams after all, right? They can give you the fuel that can help you, kind of navigate the complexity of life when you wake up, of course. So did Tom wake up eventually? Yeah, he did, right? How? How did we see Tom at the end? Is he the Tom that we have left behind at the beginning? Does he still have the same questions about time and the different types of time? Is he relenting eventually? Is he showing perhaps more respect towards his uncle and aunt? How? How do you see him at the end? Right?
Should we mention as well the author's own idea of wanting to capture the idea of slipping away?
Yeah, it's a slip narrative. Yeah, it depends on the question, yeah, Sufana, right? Yeah.
But obviously, you have like a ready answer that we have to almost have the ideas related to that answer.
You know, I mean, يعني whether you agree with me or not, I mean, they all revolve around the self-same idea.
Mm,
Okay,
mm.
it's about Tom and what happens to Tom, and in the two different realities that he was navigating, and how, I mean, even the Kitsons were there to help him or perhaps to help us understand his character by playing opposite, right? And then when they finished their role, we have somebody else taking over, which is Hattie and her past and her experiences. Again, it's all about Tom, right? Everything is serving Tom and whoever he represents, a whole generation, obviously. See? So I would like you to be very eclectic in your answer. I mean, taking things from here and there. You need to also be comprehensive, but comprehensiveness means that you need to also be, uh, uh, um, you know, weaving together the different aspects, but in a relevant way. It's not about writing too much. And again, in the same breath, it's not about writing too little. It's about writing right, writing in a concise way, in a relevant way. That would all bring in the idea of clarity. Clarity is key here. Again, in terms of uh, space, we don't expect people, if you're attempting a long answer question, you don't write a page, for example, right? If you're attempting a short answer question, you shouldn't be writing less than half a page. Again, we're clear about that, and we have mentioned that so many times. Short answers do not mean that you write like a couple of lines. No, this is not the right approach. And it wouldn't yield good results. You have to, for short answers, you have space and scope because we know what we're choosing for you. I mean, the questions. It wouldn't, I mean, less than half a page wouldn't be very convincing if you ask me. Again, if we talk about long answers, I mean, 2 pages would be a minimum. Sometimes not a satisfying minimum, depending on the question. And you need to also remember if you're attempting or if you have to attempt the close reading question, you should deal with it like you're dealing with a long answer question. You are going to write an essay about the whole thing. Okay? Hmm. Questions, questions, questions. Again, if we're asking you to write three answers to 3 questions, we don't expect you to write 4 or 5 to impress us. And we don't expect you to, if we ask you for 3, you don't write only 2, right? So that's why you need to kind of invest the right amount of time reading the instructions, the guidelines, and the questions, of course. The exam is when? Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday. Nice. Very good. Yeah. More questions? Tom's Midnight Garden. Yeah. Noor.
Yes, doctor. There is a question about Tom Midnight Garden, about why the author chose Tom and didn't choose Hattie in the title. So was it because she doesn't want to spoil the plot? She doesn't want to put Hattie um, in our view. So we will focus on Tom, and then we'll have surprise that it's all about Hattie's history. Is it like this, the answer, or not?
You mean, yeah, we spoke about this idea that Hattie has as much claim to the title as does Tom, right? Again, if you have a question like that, you would, and obviously, we are all agreed on the centrality of the character of Hattie and how important she is. You can be highlighting what she did and how much of a catalyst she is. She is moving the action for. Had it not been for her own experiences, we wouldn't. I mean, Tom wouldn't have learned anything, right? So obviously, she is very instrumental. She is very important, and she has a claim to the title. And remember, we reached this kind of compromise last time when we said that it could have been Tom and Hattie's Midnight God. If Tom has to stay there because he is perhaps muscular, because it's a male-dominated world, we can give Hattie a space on the title, right? So talking about that and sharing the sentiment that Hattie is important and everything, you can kind of highlight what Hattie did and the fact that without Hattie, the whole fabric of the novel would collapse, right? Um, Again, if you think otherwise, if you think that Tom is important, and obviously he is, you can perhaps talk about the fact that no, it's Tom, not Hattie, um, who deserves to be there, and he is already there. So it depends on your perspective. It depends on how you see it. See, but there is no denying of the fact that Hattie is, if not as important, she is more important than Tom, if you ask me. But again, because Tom is the one who is eventually delivering the moral, and because Tom is or comes in a long line of tradition where the hero and the titular hero has to be, and I'm saying hero, not shiro, not heroine. So the hero is predominantly male. Perhaps this is kind of following long established tradition. She couldn't help it, even though the writer is a woman. Yeah, can bring us a lot of ideas. If you can weave them together, you can come up with a very decent piece of work, essay. Yeah, hmm. That's a nice question, Yanur. Thank you for that. Hmm. I told you I'm not here today to revisit issues that we've been talking about for weeks and weeks, right? We cannot say whatever we've been saying in weeks and weeks in one revision class. So help you by raising issues and asking relevant questions. Come to the mic and share. So I gather that people who belong to other classes are totally done with Dr. Mohsen and Dr. Arwa, right? Can I see an acknowledgement of that? Raise your hands. Nice. Okay, good. Okay. Why
Doctor,
don't
if we
you?
were
Yeah, yeah.
if we are asked
خضتيني
about
يا سوفانا.
Ishwa,
Yeah, go ahead.
if we were asked about what element exactly contributed to the success of Tom's Midnight Garden, what would be a correct answer to that? Of course, it relies on us, I understand that. But generally,
I guess it's the idea that you very willingly suspended your disbelief that what was happening between Tom and Hattie is a dream or not reality. We got so absorbed in what they were doing and what they shared that we momentarily forgot that this is not reality or this is not life. So if and this is a real challenge that even one of the scholars spoke about, the idea that it's very hard for a writer of fantasy to convince people that what they are seeing is not reality, right? So this is perhaps the best takeaway. This is perhaps what appeals to people because we all love this idea of diversion that we kind of fly away from the here and the now. And if you have a writer who helps you to do that, even if it's momentarily, you would appreciate that, right? Especially in our world of late, where we have lots of issues and problems, and misgivings about the world. But this is my takeaway. This is something that I'm not likely to forget about the novel. This is part of the appeal that I find. How about yours, yeah, Sufan? Perhaps you didn't hear that question. Okay, so what else? Yeah, Noor.
Doctor, please, can you tell us how to answer the close reading question to get the full mark of it? Because
Mm.
it differs from the essay writing. So I want to know the points that I should mention.
Mm. Okay, let's first of all agree on the fact that the close reading question, whether it's a picture or a passage, comes where comes in the long answer question, which means that writing half a page or commenting in half a page is obviously defeating the purpose because it's a long answer question. So you will take the picture or the passage as a trigger. It has ideas that you need to expand on and elaborate so that you can make an essay out of it. So, under no circumstances should you reduce the effort to half a page. No. So, close reading questions should be written in an essay format and they should also be long enough, 2 pages at least. Again, let's talk about the specifics of the close reading question, whether it's a picture or a passage. What is also interesting, and perhaps this is something that I keep saying about EA 300B, we don't leave you to discover the idea. We tell you from in the essay in the question itself, what is it that the passage is about? So we give you the theme, okay? We give you the idea, okay? And then if it's a passage can serve as a bank of illustrations for you, if you like. You can illustrate, you can write your essay and illustrate using the passage, using examples from the passage, because normally the passage is very significant. We don't just choose random things. No, it has to be significant. And this is actually why we have chosen this passage over that one. So again, as a question, so you need to kind of set the context. Setting the context would be talking about where or from where obviously the passage is from, and it's going to be clear that what part of the novel it is in, or what part, if it's a picture, what part of the picture book it is in. You very perhaps briefly talk about, furnish the context. What is happening in the passage that you're reading, in terms of time, in terms of place, in terms of the characters involved, and then you move from whatever is concrete, talking about the characters, talking about the setting, you move to the abstract and the philosophical level, talking about the value and the significance of all of that. Obviously, again, passages that we choose for you or pictures that we choose for you are very significant and they are very symbolic. And they have their bearing on what comes before them and what comes after them. So you need to establish those logical links with the rest of the novel, before and after. Again, you highlight the significance of the passage, You highlight the significance of what people are saying in the passage, and then you move on and talk in general terms. You talk about the theme that the passage is projecting. Okay, again, within the parameters of comprehensiveness, relevance, and clarity. Is that clear, Yanur?
Thank you, Doctor. Yes, clear.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Doctor, and regarding one of the things that made the story successful, can we also include the fact that it has a sense of nostalgia?
Well, yes. Yeah, people hark back to glorious times. Again, remember what I said about perhaps flying away. I mean,
Yes, of
nostalgia
course. Yes,
can,
yes.
I mean, shedding nostalgic tears over the happy old days.
Can we also
Um,
include critics from part A, where like for Peter Hunt, for example, when he mentions that sometimes adults read children literature novels for the idea of what childhood could be, not
yeah,
for what it actually
absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. I mean, we
Okay.
don't have those strict lines of demarcation between EA 300 A and B. No, these
Yes,
are
yes.
not political borders that people should know.
Yes.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Thank you.
Feel free to even use your other I mean, I know that you read a lot, yeah, Sufana. I mean, whatever can help you kind of clarify and illustrate. I mean, even life experiences. Yeah. Somebody wanted to say something. Mm, Questions? Okay. طيب, how about the tale of Peter Rabbit? Do you have any questions about the tale of Peter Rabbit?
Doctor, the idea of duality, is it accepted? Like, can I say that both answers are applicable to this question?
What's the question?
Any question about Peter, the Tale of Peter Rabbit? Like, they
Yeah,
may ask us about whether it is talk about what was about. I forgot what. Sorry.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, perhaps you're referring to the end of the novel, the picture book, and whether people would consider chamomile tea as a
Yeah, yeah.
reward or punishment. Yeah, you can talk. You can kind of you can talk about those two opposing scenarios even, and obviously. You perhaps you need to set the scene by saying that people are polarized on the ending, whether it's this or that, and you talk about this and that. That's fine.
We can note that it's, as you said, an ambivalent kind of story, right?
Are you talking about
Peter
the
Rabbit.
end? You're talking about the end, or you're talking about there's so many polarizing issues?
The story in general.
You believe that it shows the ambivalence of the writer. This is what you're trying to say?
Yes, because there is a duality to a lot of the things.
Yeah, I mean, again, you need to remember that one of the schools, the art schools, is the school of art for art's sake. Sometimes the writer writes not to give a moral lesson or not to have an instructional agenda. They just try to please, to entertain. Okay? So entertaining and full stop would be considered by other people as ambivalence because she is showing this and that. She's not taking a stand. So there is a measure of ambivalence in the Little Peter Rabbit. Yes. Again, old school would have things very clear at the back of their minds. The fact that this is highly moralistic and it's a cautionary tale against, trespassing, against disobeying your mom and dad. This is how it has always been read. It's again against this background of moralizing. This is obviously the short cut, but obviously there is more nuance than just being a cautionary tale, right? So it can be a cautionary tale, it can be a revolutionary tale, inciting people to perhaps take up arms against their aggressors, whoever they are. I mean, any authority of any kind, the authority of occupation, can be any authority of any kind, even parental authority at one point, right? Mm,
When it comes to man versus nature, I think we've covered many topics, many ideas regarding this topic. As you said, when Peter loses his jacket, does that make him more aligned with his nature or more with society's nature? And the man getting on four, running after Peter,
mm.
whose farm is it or whose land is it, and who's the colonizer truly, and the theft? I think all of these align with the topic of man versus nature, right?
Yeah, they can go under. Yeah, yes. Mm. Any more questions? Okay, let me share with you when the second quiz will be. Let me see if I have my email open. Yeah, these are the dates. Yeah. Check the chat. Can you see that? Is it clear when the EA300B is? What day?
Yeah, clear.
Yes,
Okay.
doctor.
So it's EA 300B. It's Tuesday, November 11th from 12, and it's at the university, ya Jamaa. Make no mistake about it. It's not online. It's not like the in-class activities that we're doing.
Can we know what will be included?
What? Think we'll do most
Voices in the
probably,
pot.
yeah, voices in the park. Yeah, we can have voices in the park and whatever is before. And I think we won't be able to even, we will have started the last novel, but we wouldn't have enough time and if or enough substance to include in the quiz. So it's going to be voices in the park predominantly, inshallah. Okay. Um, right. So if you don't have any more questions, then I'll call it a night. I'll give you a couple of minutes to scratch your heads. Perhaps you can come up with more questions before we leave. Yeah, Sarah, go ahead. Because you're raising your hand, or you're perhaps, yeah, obviously it was a mistake, right, Sarah? Anybody else? Okay, type
We have,
anyway. Yeah,
Doctor, one last question. We have, as you said, we have freedom to talk about the ambiguity, basically, of the mother's response, because there isn't really a clear, concise answer to what her response means. Depends on us how we interpret it.
yeah, it's part of the intriguing ending that we have of the picture book. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Noor, go ahead.
Doctor, I believe that the end of Peter Rabbit is definitely a punishment because no one likes chamomile tea. It's the worst ever, astaghfirullah. So I think that, yeah, she did punish him with this. And I think that that will make the story about disobedience more than our interpretation about colonizing and stuff
I
like
mean, it
this.
depends. I mean, yeah, people are entitled to their opinions and views, provided that you uh, kind of know how to handle that, how to provide a solid argument. Because it's easy to say that this is a punishment. Yeah, it's this way. It's very straightforward, right? If you're opting for a different interpretation, obviously you have to prove it, right? Hmm.
Doctor, I saw a question about how the natural setting developed the character of Peter Rabbit. I think here we should, of course, we should mainly discuss about his journey in the garden and how he escaped and so on. That's right.
Yeah, ma'am. I didn't. Can you rephrase the question, Manish?
Uh, how the natural setting developed the
Hmm.
character of Peter Rabbit.
Yeah. How? Obviously, um, the answer is yeah. I mean, very open. It depends on how you see it. Again, the different encounters, and obviously they were kind of close calls. I mean, he could have been killed. Yeah, of course, this is going to harden him to make a man, between inverted commas, out of him, right? Yeah, we got matured because Eventually, he realized that he has to be cautious. Again, if you're leaning towards this idea of the whole picture book being a cautionary tale, right? So he got hardened. Whether it is a cautionary tale or not, obviously he went through so many dangers and he was almost killed. So it affected him. And again, you may want to talk about him looking at whatever is in front of him as nature, open nature, where nobody should lay claim to it or make it like a private property and stuff. Yeah, I mean, we ourselves have learned a lot from Tom's encounter with nature, right?
Can you repeat again, Doctor? What?
What? I was talking about the idea, Haya was talking about the natural setting and how this has a bearing on Tom and his character and everything in between. And I'm saying it's not only Tom who got affected by the natural setting and when he went to the garden or the farm and did what he did. It's us. We also got transformed in one way or another, whether we are the believers on in cautionary tales or those who are against the idea that the picture book is that straightforward. We learned a lot, right? You're welcome, Noor. طيب, we can kind of keep the conversation going in the WhatsApp group that we have, the material WhatsApp group that we have. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask, and we can all answer those kinds of questions. Let me see if somebody is okay. Okay. Right. I'll see you, inshallah. I wish you all the best, and I'm sure you're going to make us all proud. And thank you so much for making the time tonight. I'll see you, inshallah. Not next week because no, next week because the exam is going to be on Monday, right? Did you say
Sunday.
Sunday or Sunday? So we're resuming on Monday unless other people have other exams scheduled. Is it the last exam or في exams after?
I think there is 2 more days for exams.
طيب. We're meeting anyway on Monday, inshallah, and we're starting. What's the third one? What's the second picture book? Oh,
Voices in the
voices.
Park.
Yeah,
Voices.
voices in the park. يلا, I wish you all the best. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Thank
Bye
you,
Thank
bye.
you,
Doctor.
doctor.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
doctor.